A monster lies dead in the bloodied military kitchen, and Shin survives the fight. A system window identifies him as a novice chef LV1. Fighters hold the power in this apocalypse, but Shin can only cook. Every meal could keep people alive, though preparing one puts him near creatures he can't fight alone. Shin Young-jun, an army cook 1 month from discharge. He likes feeding soldiers, and after the army, he wants to study cooking for real. The apocalypse has other plans for that spatula. Days before his final vacation, the world ends. The city burns, the unit's food starts running out, and the streets fill with the infected. His only weapon in all of it is a kitchen. Rewind to the last ordinary dinner shift. The squid for tonight's menu has vanished, so Shin swaps the plan to pork belly stir-fry and keeps the line moving so the unit eats on time. A monster is already inside the base. In the cafeteria, a soldier pops a soda and a scream cuts the break in half. Shin drops everything and runs toward the sound. Then the monster grabs a soldier by the face and leaves blood across the floor. The base is under attack. Another soldier screams as the defenders rush in with a knife, but the creature stays standing, ready for more. One soldier yells that their attacks aren't working, but the monster lunges before anyone recovers. Another gathers himself and swings a desperate slash, and the fight turns uglier. A catastrophic explosion tears through the city. This is bigger than one base. Shin grips his cooking blade while an awakened soldier flares with yellow light. Staying alive now belongs to people with powers. Shin has a menu, and the infection is already past the fence. Soldiers with burning red eyes, kicked over store shelves, a school field going quiet. The city is falling district by district. Back in the mess hall, Shin's conversation dies mid-sentence. He goes still, listening. The second scream is closer. Something is wrong inside the base, and it's heading his way. Blood on the floor confirms people are already hurt. Shin stops the soldiers from charging. Shin orders them to evacuate everyone first. Once the civilians escape, the soldiers attack together, but their blades barely pierce the creature's armor. But the failed attack only enrages the creature. It charges with a roar. The soldiers dodge long enough to strike back with an empowered blade. This one cuts through its defenses and wounds it. The wounded creature strikes back and throws a soldier across the kitchen. The radios also receive no signal, leaving the entire base isolated. Shin uses his chef ability to prepare a meal. During training afterward, the soldiers confirm his cooking boosts their speed and strength. Days before the disaster, Dude is still approaching his final military vacation. Dinner preparations begin, but the kitchen staff can't find the squid. While everyone searches, a cook cautiously calls for the sergeant, and the cannon fodder sprint across the field until one eats dirt. While a soldier hands Shin a soda and tells him only a few days until discharge, hang in there. Shin drinks, wipes his mouth, and starts praising foreign cuisine. Priorities, chef. Then a scream cuts through the base. Shin races across the cafeteria. He asks, what's going on? A terrified soldier has already witnessed the attack. Shin reaches the kitchen as a blade swings down near the bloodied creature. Taejun gets slashed and dropped, but the meat nightmare charges again before he can breathe. He braces, meets it head on, and leaves the bastard wounded and thrashing, though this damage sponge is still very much operational. Then later, the radios are dead and the surviving soldiers are running short on supplies. They question how long the mountain unit can keep them safe. Finding food may require leaving the base, even though the expedition could kill them. The shroud faces the wall while a huge shadow hangs behind him. Meanwhile, students scramble over an open goal, but Shin is speed slicing perfect ingredients nearby. Two cooks notice his suspicious routine, then decide, fine, let him be. Nobody supervises the man with the knives. Now a discarded shoe and dark smear point to violence nearby. Shin suddenly realizes something is wrong. Elsewhere, a cook accepts a soldier's instructions and continues the assigned task. So this guy finds the reason for the warning. A monster is already attacking inside the base. One soldier breaks down in tears while another swings at the creature. The meat nightmare corners Taejun and the fallen men, ready to collect, but a soldier smashes its armored body and makes the bastard stagger. The creature retaliates and throws a soldier through the debris. Its damaged armor hasn't made it harmless. The mountain has protected the base until now, but an injured survivor can barely move. And before the attack, Shin works his usual kitchen shift while soldiers play soccer nearby. He slices the vegetables precisely. The cooks replace the missing stir-fried squid with pork belly stir-fried. The stain from the earlier attack marks the end of that normal routine. A kitchen worker gives Shin a cola. Bro says his remaining work feels bearable with discharge so close. A nearby disturbance catches his attention, and he realizes something is seriously wrong. Another slash sends blood flying. The walking wrongness nearly bites a kitchen worker. The soldiers finally connect with a blade, forcing it back and exposing the whole ugly problem. And the soldier braces for another attack, and the creature brings its claws down. He answers with another slash that tears into its body, but it survives and strikes back. So the enraged creature tears across the kitchen again. A kitchen worker warns everyone to get down as its strike crashes beside the cooking area. Another soldier charges forward before it can kill anyone else. The monster nearly crushes a crouching soldier. The monster traps him on the bloody floor without his knife. Another soldier attacks it with a sword before it can finish him. The survivors keep striking until the creature finally falls. Then our hero collapses beside the dead dead creature and struggles to breathe. The fighting stops, leaving the isolated mountain base silent. That attack proves the base can no longer protect them. Shin keeps one eye on the meat nightmare, notices a floating game menu, then searches the area for supplies. Confused or not, standing still is how the dead got that way. But dude finds another clawed monster, and his chef ability marks it as a possible ingredient. The creature sends one soldier crashing into rubble. Another soldier swings an improvised pole and urgently calls for everyone to coordinate. So the monster hurls a soldier backward, but that attack exposes a crack in its armored hide. The survivors spot the weak point. The survivors keep attacking despite their wounds. Its jaws nearly catch another soldier, forcing the unit into one last desperate fight. They finally kill the creature. Shin collapses beside its body, laughs weakly, and says, "I won." The courtyard is buried in dead soldiers. A soldier realizes the compound has way more monsters than expected. Then the meat nightmare appears. The cannon fodder can only ask what the hell it is. Shin reaches toward the strange message, demanding to know who's messing with him, before a thunderous sound pulls everything elsewhere. Then a surviving soldier braces for the approaching creature while Shin's ability finishes analyzing it. The result changes everything because the dangerous monster counts as usable cooking material. Before Shin can use that discovery, it strikes another soldier and leaves him screaming. The creature throws one soldier aside, but another attacks immediately and survives the landing. The remaining fighters brace for another charge. Their combined damage finally widens the crack in its protective shell. A soldier spots the opening. A soldier prepares to recover his knife. Another drives a sword into the wounded creature, but it reaches for him before he can finish the attack. His furious shout cuts off, and Shin survives, and a blue window congratulates him with the apocalypse's cruelest promotion, novice chef. Around him, corpses cover the road. A soldier touches the warning that a worldwide faction war is coming, so survivors must unite. Then the window shatters in a blinding flash. Now the guy reaches the walled compound as another hostile monster prepares to attack. Since his chef job can analyze monsters as ingredients, he starts assessing the creature instead of viewing it only as an enemy. So Shin uses his cooking experience and asks, "Did it work?" The creature answers by swatting a soldier aside and cracking his weapon. Then another soldier crouches beside his bloodied comrade and wonders if he'll die too. The defenders are terrified, but they hold their ground. The armored monster knocks away another weapon and keeps attacking. Taejun stares down the meat nightmare as their clash erupts violently, outcome unclear. Meanwhile, Shin faces his awakening notice, already doing the math. Apocalypse arrived. The cook got promoted. The blur gets one ugly choice: create a faction or join one, because apparently the apocalypse needs office politics. Shin lands in the forest, wonders if this is faction war or capture the flag, then spots a depot and creeps along its wall to investigate. So a soldier refuses to back down and charges, demanding that the armored monster die. Their clash throws him through the damaged kitchen and breaks his weapon. The fight still isn't over. Now the terrified soldier notices a crack in the monster's protective shell. Soft skin is exposed underneath. He finally has a possible way to survive, but reaching it means fighting up close. The armored creature barrels through the smoke and roars in Taejun's face, so he plants his feet and declares, "Yeah, you definitely need to die." He attacks again, but the blood spreading across the floor says this clash got ugly fast. And so, Shin learns that he doesn't belong to any faction yet. Nearby, the injured soldier keeps crawling through the wreckage. With the base destroyed and casualties piling up, the survivors search for others first, because regrouping gives them their best chance to live. Kim, Min Jae, Taejun scramble from the towering meat nightmare, figuring the deserters raided the guns and ammo first, so Shin triggers his chef analysis. Shin sizes up the monster as food. Taejun is furious, but panic wins. He braces on reflex. Taejun crouches beside the slaughtered meat nightmare, while the blur nearly crushes his bloody knife from shock. Then comes the ridiculous verdict. This clawed, fanged bastard counts as an ingredient. Apparently the apocalypse looked at nightmare fuel and said lunch. Then Shin says, explaining how he reached the camp covered in blood will take time. He adds, "Looks like I'm the only one left." The soldiers become suspicious, though his wounds prove he survived another deadly encounter alone. But a monster attacks near the compound before that encounter ends. The defending soldier focuses and hits back with a decisive strike. He kills the creature. The impact shakes the building. The blur hangs weightless as a brand new sensation floods in, but the cooking instructions barely start before a soldier yells, "Enough!" Guns come up immediately, because the cannon fodder just found a survivor outside and they are hauling them into the compound fast. So the survivor turns out to be Dude, returning bloodied after everyone presumed him dead. The soldiers recognize him. The soldiers gather around in relief. Before Shin can explain anything, another monster lunges at the defenders. The defending soldier kills the horned monster at close range with his dagger. That victory unlocks a dagger skill. Shin's chef ability marks the carcass as edible, and the exhausted soldiers recoil when they realize he might cook it. Then another soldier rushes toward the remaining danger as riflemen secure the compound. Survivors from different units gather at the entrance, worn down by the fighting. The defenders Commanders guide them inside so the regrouped force can count its losses. And one soldier sees Shin return bloodied and locks his jaw because the meat nightmare charging them looks like a raid boss. The system calmly labels it manageable cooking stock. Then Taejun drives his dagger home, and the weapon bonus turns panic into a very aggressive grocery run. The meat nightmare roars over injured Taejun, while the blur sees the system alert and nearly sweats through his uniform. Meanwhile, Shin hides by the wall until a rifleman spots him and demands, "Hey, who's there?" The defending soldier keeps chasing the wounded monster with his knife. Shin enters the secured compound, while armed guards bring the scattered survivors together. Once everyone is inside, Bro admits he's relieved they managed to regroup. Now the bloodied soldier is still recovering when the monster attacks again. He counters from close range. He drives his blade into the creature, it roars and bleeds, but the fight continues. The meat nightmare is dead. Shin realizes its remains might count as ingredients. He nearly clashes with the armed survivor, but introductions stop the stabbing. Shin names himself, then recognizes Kim from supply. Shin wonders where the other chefs went. They all seem dead. The soldiers keep searching rooms and checking who made it back. Everyone is worn down and grieving. During the roll call, more of the missing are declared dead. The survivors fall silent as their losses become clear. Then only 10 people or vehicles remain in the transportation unit. The report sends the gathered soldiers into a panic. One soldier fears everyone at the compound will die, but Shin stays calm while the others struggle to process the losses. And nobody wants to take command because one wrong decision could kill more people. An officer focuses on immediate survival and asks Shin how much food remains. Another soldier gets angry and says this should have been reported sooner. One soldier admits he had to stab monsters to death. The others realize close combat is far more dangerous than they expected. With the depot supplies at risk, Bro decides feeding the survivors comes first. So the officer continues calling names while everyone waits in silence. Only about 100 men remain, which means nearly half the battalion are casualties. That number leaves the survivors even more afraid. The soldiers keep arguing over protocol, but contacting the upper unit means traveling 2 hours through monster territory. With no safer option, one soldier tells the objectors to offer a better plan or help choose volunteers. So the supply report gives them about 5 days of basic rations and 6 weeks of emergency rations. Before they settle anything, a confrontation breaks out near the supply crates. The soldiers react immediately because their limited food is now at risk, and the soldiers accept the food and focus on their immediate tasks. That gives them enough direction to calm down slightly. Even so, the deaths and the depleted scouting unit still weigh on everyone. Shin can barely stay awake when the debate starts again. Several soldiers argue that reaching another unit means crossing too much monster territory. Everyone should remain at the compound. When volunteers are requested, the response is reluctant. The tense debate stops when another monster attacks near the supplies. A soldier kills it with a dagger. A soldier gains a combat ability, but the guy returns covered in blood and tells everyone to sit down. They need to assess who survived and what options remain. A sudden disturbance puts everyone on alert. News of the scouting unit's losses stuns the soldiers. Neither regular phones nor the emergency network is working. The soldiers decide they need a commander to organize the survivors. They also choose volunteers to cross the monster territory and seek help. Everyone else will remain at the unit until they reach higher command. The blur reports that electricity and water are failing, but one soldier suddenly pulls a bloody knife and promises a demonstration. Taejun answers first, crossing both slashes through the attacker. So much for the utilities briefing. Then a soldier nearly chokes. Killing the meat nightmare can give people powers. Shin drags them back to business. Survivors remain, but the officer erupts as the notebook confirms the scouting unit has only 7 left. Taejun stays planted by the supplies, while a soldier suddenly smiles as if he already knows how this ends. Minjae wants to contact the upper units for orders, because even during monster hell, someone still expects it done up the chain. The request for volunteers leaves the soldiers uneasy. Their next report gives them even more reason to worry. When a bloodied soldier raises his knife, everyone demands an explanation. So the soldier chooses close-range combat because ammunition and food could disappear anytime. Another monster attacks before the matter is settled. The unit spends more of its limited rifle rounds to survive. The officers explain the plan from the meeting. The soldiers immediately point out that it forces them into close-range fights. Against these monsters, that choice is nearly suicidal. Shin returns bloodied but still accepts the danger. His confidence leaves the others stunned. Inside the military vehicle, a soldier braces for the next disaster, while Shin keeps working that cooking pot like survival depends on dinner, because honestly, it does. His non-stop practice bumps his chef abilities higher. The second the cannon fodder tastes the meal, tension turns into huge grins. Morale, it turns out, ships with a spoon, and the meal restores the unit's morale, but supplies are still running low. 10 monsters attack that day, and a soldier warns they can't keep spending bullets at this rate. The officers request support from a higher unit and order everyone to await contact. The unit still chooses ranged combat because a few bullets can kill each monster. Shin asks the captain for permission to proceed. A military jeep leaves through the forest to complete the next objective. Back at the ammunition depot base, the soldiers are terrified and wounded. This guy starts wondering whether his cooking ability helps enough. Another monster monster alarm interrupts him. The unit forms a perimeter, checks injuries, and counts the survivors. Then Min-jae confirms the unit has enough supplies to hold out, but Taejun is already doing the math on monster kills. Maybe their energy only transfers to whoever stands nearby. So Shin shuts down Science Hour. Shin briefs the cannon fodder. If they can spot it, strike first. The captain orders dinner at 7, rotating shifts, and a full briefing on the new power event. A guard locks down the kitchen while Shin cooks to calm everyone. Seconds later, soldiers demand refills because they feel energized. Our boy's comfort food is already hard carrying morale. Another monster attack sends the soldiers straight back into combat. The bodies left behind make the cost clear. One soldier insists he killed a monster but still didn't awaken, so landing the killing blow isn't enough by itself. So system guidance identifies a monster's armpit as its weak point. A knife slips through that spot easily. The soldiers use that knowledge to wound another monster and mobilize across the base, though every close range kill still puts them in danger. Shin dumps ingredients into the pot as his awakened cooking skill kicks in, then adds a special sauce carrying comfort. A soldier feels the effect, looks stunned, and charges back into the burning firefight. Turns out morale is a catering problem. The survivors prepare to bury the soldiers killed during the attack. One soldier remembers grappling with a monster at close range. The troops consider desperate defenses, including boiling oil, as they prepare for another fight. And the jeep hauls Shin down the forest road. He starts cooking mid-crisis. His skill kicks into the pan, turning plain meat into a calming meal for panicked soldiers. Apparently morale now comes stir-fried with sauce. Shin clocks the soldier's reaction and starts doing the math. At the wrecked courtyard, a soldier asks why Min-jae is here. The blur answers by announcing he's stabbing it. Bold plan. The blur sparks up an electric hand, thrilled, so the cannon fodder escort a civilian to claim a close-range monster kill, while one exhausted soldier guards the carnage. Then a soldier gets shredded when the meat nightmare attacks, but the creature screams as the cannon fodder strike back. Everyone checks who survived, and Taejun's system window labels him a novice astronomer. Useful? Maybe? The apocalypse handed him homework about stars, though the power already crackling in his hand says he's anything but harmless. The commotion ends with Taejun and Min-jae awakened, their new power snapping behind the fence while the cannon fodder stare. Then a soldier spots trouble, shouts, "Over there," and the whole unit immediately sprints after him. The disturbance comes from soldiers chasing another monster because they want to awaken quickly. They decide the soldiers from the earlier meeting should try first. The rest of the unit still hasn't received a proper explanation. So Min-jae warns Taejun to be careful, but the second he readies his weapon, a soldier screams in absolute terror. Blood spills across the ground as a blade comes down. The attempt leaves a soldier critically wounded beside the dead monster. Their medic is only a physical therapist and can't treat injuries this severe. Soldiers call for medical help as the ammunition depot fills with wounded men and frantic shouting. Elsewhere, soldiers responding to another disturbance meet a monster and kill it up close with a bayonet. More abilities awaken. The survivors eagerly test their new powers. Each success pushes more soldiers toward the same lethal method, and the unit sends the next soldier forward for another close-range attempt. He lunges at the monster, gets wounded in the struggle, and curses through the pain while continuing to attack. Awakening still requires him to fight within the monster's reach. A blood-soaked soldier keeps his knife ready after the struggle, but Kim snaps that the bastard received an awakening notice too, earning a sarcastic "well done, asshole." Before tempers settle, the soldier gets slammed against the wall. Promotion ceremony going beautifully. Taejun and the cannon fodder demand answers because they only stepped away to eat, but the meat nightmare has already turned lunch break into a casualty report. Min-jae's awakening confirms he is now a novice electric mage, and Taejun immediately shows Shin the sparks in his hand, asking what class he pulled from this apocalypse lottery. Then before anyone regains control, another soldier rushes the wounded monster up close. It hits him hard. The others pressure our hero to save him. A soldier offers to shoot, but waits for Shin's order. Gunfire would stop the monster, but it could also cost the wounded soldier his chance to awaken. The soldier survives the close-range attack, but he's bleeding and crying out. His comrades carry him through the wrecked ammunition depot and tell him he's safe. Every attempt to awaken is costing the unit more blood. Taejun arrives to a surprised welcome, but Min-jae immediately asks who survived. Then his awakening results appear, and Min-jae nearly short-circuits. What the hell? This is real. Nobody hands out a manual for this. So the soldiers start wondering whether awakened jobs match each person's natural talent. They can't test that idea yet because the wounded monster keeps fighting. One soldier hesitates. His superior orders him to finish it before it attacks again. The walking wrongness finally drops with its jaw torn open, but a soldier's eye activates and he freezes in shock, so the cannon fodder hustle Taejun and the wounded man towards safety while shouting for help. One soldier is so terrified by the awakening method that he refuses to continue. The others stop trying to persuade him, but his refusal leaves the unit weaker. Another soldier insists they can't leave the matter there, so the soldiers decide he can't refuse when the whole unit needs more fighters. Shin takes responsibility for the reluctant soldier and begins preparing a meal. He's determined to make him capable of fighting. A soldier asks ask Shin about the food, but the conversation turns into an argument about fear and seniority. The soldiers admit they barely killed anything before the attacks. One of them insists that serving longer doesn't make anyone superior. Two soldiers discuss the refusal in private because it puts the whole battalion at risk. They agree that they must persuade the reluctant soldier. After that, they urgently gather the unit to deal with him, and Bro quickly prepares another meal. The frightened soldier agrees to eat because the unit needs him fighting. Nearby, an awakened soldier struggles to control his new power, while another soldier guides him. Awakening hasn't made him ready for combat, but the soldiers still have to deal with the unit's failing morale. One follows his orders despite his fear. Another warns that many troops want to desert because monsters are waiting outside. The survivors rush to reinforce the base perimeter with a wooden barricade. The Blur watches the cannon fodder whispering and decides this unit is done being hopeless, so Shin shreds green onions at ridiculous speed, while a soldier grips his spoon like dinner might attack first. Nearby, Taejun and Minjae confirm the unit's ace is their best shot. Then the soldiers are still carrying the weight of everyone they've lost, but they can't stop moving. One soldier urgently pulls another away without explaining the plan. He insists they must strengthen the troops to survive the monsters outside. The soldier asks if this can work. Shin answers with a stove. He claims an empty utility room, fries up a courage-boosting rice dish, and feeds the trembling volunteer. One bite starts crushing fear. Support class, my ass. Then the argument over command ends when one soldier reluctantly gives in. A senior soldier orders everyone else to accept the decision. They can't abandon the effort to strengthen the unit while its morale is collapsing. So the soldier looks smug. Shin ties on his apron and starts cooking under enough pressure to make him sweat. Then the food takes effect. Our boy smiles down like, yeah, support class just settled the argument. That night, a soldier asks Shin how anyone can fight after watching comrades die to a monster. He remembers his own close encounter. He admits survival instinct pushed him forward before, but his reason for fighting is starting to change. His mind returns to that close-range fight with the monster. He blocks its claw, takes a bloody hit, and keeps attacking as the others urge him to finish it. The memory confirms that awakening requires direct contact with lethal danger, and the cannon fodder salute and cheer, so Shin laughs and fires back a mock salute. Then the Blur calls Sergeant Shin Young-jun, and when Shin answers, the Blur freezes, clearly remembering something that scared the hell out of him. The soldier says he wants everyone to survive together. That conviction comes from fighting the monster up close as it grabs his head and nearly kills him. He survives covered in blood. He can barely steady himself. Back in the base cafeteria, he reflects on why the whole unit must grow stronger together. Then refusing to fight, he realizes, only turns them into monster food. His confidence surges. He charges back into close combat. He punches through the creature's clawed arm, stunning every soldier watching, and the strike smashes the ground around them. But the soldier kills the monster. Still bloodied, he stands over its body with a fierce resolve. He has turned his fear into enough strength to survive. The soldier explains that people have pressured him to act strong since childhood. Losing comrades to monsters finally turns that pressure into violent courage. His change alarms the others, but they cheer once he kills the creature and recognize his strength. So the soldiers wonder whether his frightening confidence will last. They check his condition. Once the immediate danger passes, the unit returns to formation. The guy can finally judge whether his cooking is making the soldiers stronger. Minjae recoils as he hears the account. The soldier admits that being recognized once felt fortunate. In the apocalypse, that pride becomes dangerous, and he charges whenever a monster attacks. This time, he helps kill it. So the soldier's resolve goes far enough that he bites the monster's arm. The rest of the unit recoils. His need to survive has pushed him beyond ordinary fear and into frightening aggression. And the soldiers remain shaken after the fight, but they can't reveal what caused his sudden aggression yet. The unit regroups while Shin keeps testing whether his cooking can help frightened soldiers survive. Fresh produce and raw meat will rot, so the unit must eat them quickly. Shin has little time to use those supplies. During the next hunt, a soldier kills the target too early and apologizes. The others call Bro toward another captured monster and wait for his orders. The masked figure serves nightmare fuel, but Shin barely reacts before a message confirms 5 awakened survivors now count as a faction. An order sends everyone indoors. One soldier asks the question nobody wants answered. What about their families? Then Taejun sits tight-lipped on the crate. The cannon fodder immediately asks Shin what the hell he did to him. Then Taejun launches up. Taejun carves through the air with his new power. The table slicing was the free sample. This one comes with a blade. Meanwhile, hunger keeps wearing everyone down. One soldier counts the days until he can eat properly again. After the premature kill, another soldier volunteers for the next trial. He tells the spear wielder to strike the monster's armpits, trusting his practice. A blood-splattered soldier freezes after the attack, while Shin and the cannon fodder stare at strange notifications nobody understands. One admits the messages make no sense at all. The group heads into the empty storage room to sort out the new rules. So inside, the soldiers are still uneasy about the fighter's sudden personality change. Shin explains that he only cooked for the soldier and spoke with him. The others assume Bro persuaded him, and they're amazed it worked. Taejun admits Kwangil gets terrifying in battle, but Minjae says the personality change is temporary. Meanwhile, the cannon fodder lure the meat nightmare into position without missing a shot, because wounding it is easy. Getting close enough to finish it is the damn problem. Taejun braces for trouble, but the soldiers erupt because they've counted 5 new abilities, asking if marksman basically means sniper. Meanwhile, Shin studies his own system window, already doing the math on what the apocalypse handed the kitchen staff. And Taejun hears 10 rations each. Taejun says this apocalypse is turning into a damn game. But with monsters flattening the city, their families may already be missing. The soldiers agree survival comes first. Shin's food finally pulls them together, and the cannon fodder start laughing like actual teammates. Minjae and Taejun are joking with the soldiers when an attack explodes nearby. They surround the wounded meat nightmare, guns raised, but it keeps clawing forward. A soldier curses its ridiculous resilience. Nothing about this thing agreed to die on schedule. Now a soldier lands the finishing strike and removes the immediate danger. Our hero checks the faction reward. Our hero finds an elixir of growth. It raises experience gain by 500% for a limited time. The unit can use it to strengthen its new awakened quickly. Then the soldiers worry that 3rd place means stronger groups already exist. Still, securing the military compound matters more than searching outside. Shin credits his skills with helping the unit regain its focus. Now the unit checks its supplies and finds mostly preserved emergency rations. Future awakenings need controlled conditions, so soldiers guard the perimeter. They weaken another monster. They call a recruit forward to finish it. The recruit kills the weakened monster and completes another controlled awakening attempt. The system messages confuse everyone. The soldiers ask Shin what comes next. He orders every awakened soldier to attend an emergency meeting, and the unit accepts that stronger factions may already exist. Immediate survival still comes first. The soldiers secure the military compound, conserve their limited ammunition, and acknowledge their new orders. Another soldier fights a clawed monster while confronting Dude about hiding information. Shin says he's protecting the battalion's unity. The soldier pushes back because our boy alone understands their advantage. Now Shin confirms his awakening grants novice dagger proficiency and novice cooking proficiency. His meals strengthen soldiers without notifying them, proving the buffs work. Another monster approaches. The unit needs that hidden advantage immediately. So the newly awakened soldier kills a monster with only 2 shots. A normal soldier needs 10, but the faction has only 5 members, so this relief won't last. The soldiers press Shin to explain how he'll strengthen the unit. Sobro checks the point store for upgrades beyond his basic abilities. A clash with an attacker exposes how limited his direct combat skills remain. When a soldier asks whether food raised his status panel stats, Shin's advantage becomes harder to hide. Shin wants his meal buff, strengthening the entire battalion. One enhanced soldier now kills a monster with 2 shots instead of 10. The faction remains too small. They decide to awaken more soldiers. And now a soldier asks about Shin's abilities, leading him to check his unexpected 82 points. The point store charges 30 points for either a combat axe or steel knife. The guy buys neither. The guy considers how strong his proficiency could become beyond novice level. The soldiers confirm Shin's meals raise their stats without triggering system messages. That means his cooking can strengthen the unit without exposing how it works. A sudden disturbance interrupts Shin, but another soldier puts survival first as enhanced shots show the awakened soldier's growing power. But awakening more soldiers won't be easy. One terrified recruit refuses because he's convinced he'll die. After hearing about a possible den, Shin returns to the mystery of his 82 points and searches the point store for something practical. Then Bro finds rye bread in the point store for 10 PT. The system also confirms he has novice flame affinity. While the soldiers compare which dishes raise their stats, Shin realizes cooking and fire form the base of his support abilities. 10 points for bread. The apocalypse runs a bakery now. A soldier stops the investigation by reporting a new type of monster. The others admit awakened abilities, decide who can fight, and one powerful fighter would make hunting easier. This guy confronts a reluctant soldier, but they still can't secure more fighters. Shin admits the earlier question catches him off guard, so he delays his point store research. Instead, he examines Novice Flame Affinity, the ability awakened when he accidentally grabbed a hot pot. It may help with cooking. Then a soldier confirms Shin's food raises his strength from 9 to 12. The meals grant real stat buffs. Soldiers report for duty before they can investigate further, and a horned monster different from the lizards appears. The soldiers identify a giant lizard over 3 meters long among the ordinary lizards. Gunfire and an explosion still don't finish it. They realize the horned creature is different from everything they fought before. Scouts also confirm the horde around the base has more than doubled since they found it. Rations will run out next week, and only half the unit will likely awaken. An attack would hit both their defenses and their remaining food. So the scouts confirm the horned monster differs completely from every lizard the unit has faced. Its place among the gathered creatures suggests something stronger is directing the horde. Now the lizards stay around the base perimeter without attacking, so the soldiers believe they're waiting for an opening. The leaders keep the organized assault secret to prevent panic through the unit. They quietly begin preparing the defense. A soldier argues they're newly awakened marksmen can defend the base despite the growing horde. A sudden disturbance forces everyone into cover. They inspect the perimeter. Now the huge horned monster starts moving among the lizards. Its behavior supports the theory that it's coordinating them. Still, the horde refuses to attack, leaving the soldiers unsure why it's waiting. The soldiers stay inside because leaving the fortified base would waste their advantage. Beyond the compound, the enormous tentacled monster looms while a marksman prepares to fire, and a sudden disturbance, possibly a power outage, shakes the base. A soldier warns that poor sightlines will cripple the marksman. The troops investigate and spot a huge horned monster approaching in the distance. And leaving the compound still isn't an option, because its defenses give them an advantage. Shin's octopus kimchi has already calmed their fear, so they assess the approaching monster without panicking. Nothing steadies a firing line like octopus kimchi. The awakened soldiers can hit moving targets with unnatural accuracy, using ordinary K2 rifles, but the disturbance may affect the entire base. Ground-level obstructions would block their sightlines, so the defenders move the marksmen onto the rooftops. Rooftop scouts confirm the horned monster is heading straight toward the base. The defenders are outnumbered, but they know the monster's weaknesses. Everyone prepares to fight as the creature closes in, so a soldier orders someone to report the approaching monster to the commander. Everyone remains alert. With 20 soldiers successfully awakened, the defenders believe they can counterattack and survive. Just as the 20 awakened soldiers prepare to counterattack, someone realizes the monsters may already be moving. The alarm mobilizes the troops. The mages split between offense and defense. Shaking barricade alarms confirm pressure along the perimeter. A rooftop sentry confirms the attack and orders the defenders into action. The opening barrage sends hostile creatures crashing together, but the horde keeps coming. The soldiers must hold the fortified base before the monsters break through. Then Shin confirms his cooking buffs are working, but the defenders are burning through ammunition. A soldier urgently calls for more magazines while everyone keeps firing. But the system identifies the lizard chieftain as the strongest and rarest lizard, with no equal among them. Projectiles converge on it while the other monsters keep attacking, and a soldier's system status activates as the defenders focus their fire. A soldier pulls the faltering defenders together. A soldier orders them to resume firing. Once every troop reaches the ammo depot, the commander seals the entrance to keep the horde outside. So an awakened soldier casts a large-scale spell as the others move beyond the barricade. A sentry spots the attackers through binoculars, acknowledges the command, and orders everyone to open fire. The first attacks knock one monster backward, but the soldiers have to fight carefully. One soldier claims the target and says, "I'll take it down," while the system confirms no lizard can rival or defy the lizard chieftain. Then another projectile lands near the chieftain, but the remaining lizards prepare to charge before it falls. The soldiers take aim at the horde as the system announces a temporary increase to every lizard's strength, speed, and health. And Minjae calls to dude in alarm when a fanged monster attacks. The soldiers seal the ammo depot entrance, and an awakened soldier summons a magical weapon for close combat. A soldier confirms the charging horde has reached the barricade, leaving no time to wait. The order to fire comes immediately, and the troops begin defending their fortified position. The creatures push through the gunfire, forcing the awakened soldiers into close combat against their claws. A soldier warns that the boss has reached them inside the compound. Now Shin reacts as another soldier identifies the lizard chieftain. The defenders hit it with more attacks, but the horde keeps descending on them, frightening the nearby soldiers as their fortified position begins to buckle. The defenders hold their ground. The defenders finish placing soldiers behind the barricades. One soldier asks what comes next. Another raises a large blade and prepares to fight the attackers up close. The horde reaches them before they can finish preparing. The soldiers fire as the monsters charge the base, but a rock-covered creature pushes through the bullets and attacks. Then monsters trade heavy blows at close range, while the lizard chieftain remains the main target. The soldiers focus their gunfire on it, but the chieftain dodges every bullet. Ordinary ranged attacks can't keep up with its speed, and the defenders combine their strength, blasting one monster backward with a powerful strike. It still doesn't bring the fight under control. One soldier goes down, while another checks the system to learn what happened. One soldier holds another in place when he suddenly doubles over in pain. The defenders notice something else beyond the barricade, but their view from the ground is blocked. Our hero sends the marksmen onto the rooftops, with the awakened guarding their positions. So an awakened soldier reminds another soldier that he was the first person at the base to awaken. Explosions strike around the compound before he can enjoy that confidence. The troops call for their captain to give the order. The defenders return fire. The defenders follow with repeated slashing attacks. One creature shrieks as the hits force it back. From the rooftops, the soldiers identify the approaching lizard chieftain as the greatest danger and prepare to stop it. So the lizard chieftain dodges the incoming shots with the same speed as the lesser lizards, confirming they're the same species. An unknown horned creature watches nearby. Another soldier collapses in pain as the battle's effects disable more defenders, and the soldiers check their status, but one spots more monsters closing in and raises the alarm. Another demands they act immediately. A large horned creature prepares to strike, leaving the defenders no time to recover. The soldiers confirm that everyone has eaten Shin's baked food, then rally around the compound. His chef effect boosts all their stats for one day. With their strength and confidence restored, they prepare for the next attack. Shin's food lets the soldiers meet the charging lizards head-on. One survives the first clash, while another counters, but nobody can handle the whole horde alone. They have to fight together. But medium bravery keeps their fear under control, so the normal lizards stop being the main concern. The remaining monsters still attack, keeping the empowered soldiers trapped in close combat. Now one soldier pushes another forward as the fighting continues, while Shin gets ready to explain their sudden strength. The troops pour that power into lightning and other enhanced attacks to stop the monsters from taking the compound. A soldier charges in, but a monster fires an energy attack from range. The defenders answer with heavy melee strikes as the system explains their power. Each soldier ate a chocolate cookie of bravery, made with passion by a novice chef. Its effect grows when prepared for a specific person. Then the chocolate cookies of bravery mark hostile targets and grant medium bravery. That effect removes confusion and clears the soldiers' minds, letting them use their awakened powers against the charging monsters. Then a soldier orders everyone to prepare for close combat. Because ranged attacks aren't enough, Shin realizes they're connecting their strength to his cooking, but duties get assigned before he can explain. The horde breaks through the fence, forcing everyone to defend the base up close. The awakened soldiers meet the breach with empowered punches, fire knives, and coordinated melee attacks. Together, they keep the monsters from overrunning the base. So two soldiers sense another threat behind them, but the horde leaves no time to check. One keeps firing through the barricade while the other pulls him away from the advancing monsters. The soldiers realize they all ate Shin's food before awakening, confirming his cooking caused their new power. Another soldier eats one of Shin's buff foods and immediately gains enough strength to fight. Now the empowered defenders drive the horde back with gunfire, enhanced punches, lightning, and close combat. One soldier eats Shin's food during the fight, says he needs its power too, and cuts down an attacking monster. And an empowered soldier slams a heavy blow into the monster at close range. Another creature lunges at the defenders as a soldier's power surges under the strain. One soldier assures the unit that their combat debuffs are temporary and will soon wear off. The soldiers regroup for close combat, and Shin's food gives them the courage to continue. Their hesitation leaves the position exposed. The riflemen order everyone to stop celebrating and attack the approaching monsters. Shin's buffs keep the defenders moving, and they smash one monster into a wall. Three more creatures immediately surround a soldier, forcing the defenders into another desperate stand. And one soldier restrains a serpent-like monster, while another stabs a larger creature. The horde reaches the fallen troops, so the commander orders every available soldier to gather at the entrance. Shin's buffed soldiers hold the entrance, but the remaining monsters keep throwing defenders aside. One soldier channels electric power into the counterattack and tells the others to hold on a little longer. A giant monster breaks through and grabs a bloodied soldier. Another defender lies wounded beneath it, and a separate attack sends one soldier falling past a winged creature. The entrance is still exposed. Then the monster's next strike tears through a defender and leaves him bleeding beside the crates. Shin's buffs can't stop the entrance battle from claiming more lives. So the system starts evaluating an application involving party-level personnel. The order barely finishes before another monster attacks a soldier. He activates an ability as the creature closes in, forcing another clash. The soldier narrowly dodges the monster's crossing energy slashes. Another soldier charges beyond the base's barbed wire fence, trying to stop the creature before it breaches the position. So the defenders counterattack the monsters gathered at the entrance. Another blade comes down among the debris, followed by a burst of blood, but it's still unclear who falls. The blade kills one monster, but the defenders don't stop. A soldier surges with fiery power. A soldier charges the remaining creatures, keeping them away from the entrance. But a strengthened soldier meets a large monster head-on as crossing energy blades tear through the area. Another creature still gets close and catches a defender off guard, leaving the entrance exposed. And the horn monster smashes through the fortified entrance, but the soldiers strike back with empowered blades. They batter and wound the creature until it finally reels away. Once the immediate attack ends, Bro checks the troops and orders everyone to stay alert because more monsters may remain. One soldier also receives the first place reward for the battle. Awakened soldiers keep attacking as one charges with combat power active and another kills a monster with lightning. Two more fire from cover, raising morale, but a soldier barely survives an incoming slash. Then a masked man carrying ominous power enters the battle. A bloodied soldier attacks the monster that already broke another soldier. A huge unidentified combatant shouts a warning as another attack approaches. The battered monster tries to retaliate, but the soldiers stop it before their defense breaks. The survivors believe they've finally won and begin celebrating. A wounded soldier stays alert despite his exhaustion because more monsters are rushing toward the base entrance. Another soldier's newly awakened power surges as he prepares to meet them. Then Shin's buffs convince the soldiers they can overpower the remaining monsters. They attack together with empowered blades and close-range strikes, but a giant creature survives and fires a destructive blast. Now a soldier confirms their counterattack connects, but the monster's force slams another soldier down and badly injures him. The remaining troops shout and keep fighting because the entrance still isn't secure. The soldiers drive in the final blade strike and finish the fight. A body lies near the base fence, making their losses impossible to ignore. One survivor quietly admits they won, and dawn gives the unit time to regroup. So civilians flee through city streets while destruction continues elsewhere. High on the mountain range, a soldier prays over a badly wounded man because the survivors still don't have reliable medical treatment. Shin turns his attention back to feeding the survivors. Personalized dishes need quality ingredients and take 4 to 7 hours each. While our boy considers his available perk, a soldier asks whether it could provide a giant chariot for gathering supplies. 7 hours a plate, and fine dining still refuses to die. And Shin chooses Mobile Fortress Bimana because the base needs practical support. Soldiers finish their remaining work around the fenced perimeter. One of them spots Shin, greets him, and walks over. And the infirmary fills with wounded soldiers as one man screams and the medical team rushes another casualty through the hall. The survivors wonder whether taking the mountain range's most important position caused yesterday's battle, which means more attacks may follow. Bro still has to deal with the long preparation time for his cooking. A soldier insists that the work will matter soon. Their supplies won't last forever, so the unit needs to find more food before the survivors run short. Shin prepares to activate his new perk right away. Before he can see the result, a soldier finds him while the rest of the unit keeps working across the mountain base. So the soldiers race to save a wounded man as his condition worsens. Another injured soldier lies exhausted in recovery. The troops realize that even after securing the mountain range, one mistake against the charging monsters could have killed more of them. The soldiers admit they underestimated how much work remains, but they delay long-term planning and stick with their chosen perk. Before they can use it, monsters charge the base fence, forcing the guy and the soldiers to respond. By evening, the attack is over, but someone inside the base needs urgent help. Shin says a wounded soldier is resting in room 3, and another soldier rushes there before the man's condition gets worse. Then the soldiers confirm they've secured the whole mountain range. One soldier reminds them that another issue still needs handling, but one truck remains. The soldiers prepare to deal with it. Shin chooses the Mobile Fortress Bimana perk and activates it. Approaching monsters interrupt them, forcing dude and a soldier back toward the fenced base before they learn what it does. Inside the mountain base, Shin checks his progress and confirms he's earned experience. He helps treat a wounded soldier's injured leg. The system also confirms that the unit controls the entire mountain range. So securing the territory convinces the soldiers they can kill the remaining monsters, especially with Shin's buffs. Their victory leaves one urgent issue. There are too many monster corpses to burn and nowhere to bury them. A soldier questions why this guy chose Mobile Fortress Bimana. Shin says its name should explain its function and activates the perk. Before anyone can confirm what it does, monsters reach the fence and force them to respond. Then Shin stays calm. Shin keeps eating while the soldier grows tense. The soldier accuses Bro of ignoring the obvious. His anger builds until he clenches a trembling fist. The cook finishes his meal. The argument can wait, and securing the mountain range cuts monster attacks by roughly half, but scattered assaults continue. The soldiers stay alert. A bandaged soldier calls for Shin, and a wheelchair-bound astronomer explains his role, startling another soldier. Beyond the base, survivors flee through the night. A mother reassures her frightened child that they can survive. Back at the base, a soldier credits the awakened soldier's training and says he checked his contacts as a precaution. 2 soldiers return by jeep while discussing suspected misconduct. One insists someone should have noticed it. At the base, a soldier thanks our hero for helping the injured recruits, but Shin credits everyone. A bandaged soldier says forced awakening attempts caused the injuries, yet taking those risks kept the monsters from eating them all. Now the wheelchair-bound astronomer says his role reads constellations, glimpses the heavens, and predicts travelers' rise and fall. He calls a soldier a visitor, so the soldier demands an explanation. No answer comes before morning. Meanwhile, survivors run through the forest towards safety. A contact reports there's still no good news, but one soldier stays confident despite the update. Back at the base, the injured recruits are still suffering after the forced awakening. A soldier offers to find extra food, and one recruit asks if his damaged foot can be treated. Another bandaged soldier reminds them how much danger they faced. The wheelchair-bound astronomer calmly stands by his earlier explanation. Then now, the wheelchair-bound astronomer reveals he knows the soldier's secret. He warns the soldier to keep his claws hidden from the residents. Beyond the forest, the survivors finally spot the fortified facility. However, the 2 drivers sent farther up the mountain still haven't returned. And another soldier claims nobody can challenge him because his boss protects him. By nightfall, the soldiers meet behind closed doors because those command decisions are damaging the unit's trust. The wheelchair-bound astronomer says the soldier's hidden claws are why he requested this meeting. That makes the soldier suspicious, but he takes the warning seriously. So the survivors hurry toward the fortified facility. Inside, a soldier thanks Shin for helping the unit, but Bro replies, "I only did what I could." With everyone exhausted, Shin returns to the kitchen and uses his dangerous awakening process through cooking. His support power depends on the meals he prepares. A grim memory reveals why forcing others to awaken weighs on them. After a soldier is urged to awaken, that decision ends in a bloody fight with a monster and leaves deep regret. Outside the apartment building, the wheelchair-bound astronomer says he has discovered two important things. So a soldier watches the compound as exhausted civilians reach the perimeter, hoping the military will protect them. The guards realize they traveled far and have nowhere else to go. They admit them into the fortified base. And once inside, the civilians are registered and given free water. They immediately ask about troop numbers and food supplies. The soldiers take charge of the intake. The soldiers order everyone to follow military instructions, though one soldier doubts the arrangement. The soldiers lead the survivors to their quarters and feed them in the mess hall. The exhausted group finally gets shelter and some relief. Nearby, the yellow top praises a shorter man's talent and asks about his former job, so the shorter man explains what he used to do. The soldiers keep watch and confirm 25 survivors entered the fortified base. That leaves the unit protecting and supplying a much larger group. But the civilians gather and ask where our boy and another missing soldier are. An elderly survivor believes they're finally safe. The soldiers promise protection. The soldiers move everyone above the first floor since monsters will attack there first. Shin explains that he was only a college student before joining the army. The soldiers are surprised an ordinary recruit cooks so well and praise his meal. They also confirm these newcomers are the survivors reported earlier. When one soldier tries taking charge, another dismisses him. The argument nearly continues, but a soldier pulls the would-be leader aside. Their private exchange turns mocking until another soldier steps in. He tells them to stop arguing and help settle the civilians. Then with that handled, Shin checks their food problem. His cooking improves food efficiency by 25%, but their regular stock is nearly gone. More civilians keep arriving. He needs another food source before supplies run out. 25% efficiency, and still the math loses. Then more survivors approach. The soldiers bring them into the compound. The commanding lieutenant gathers everyone and formally takes control of the unit. As soldiers urgently call the group together, he starts organizing the new arrivals. The newcomers ignore the soldiers guiding them and start arguing over cold showers. Guards have to contain the unrest. Their current food consumption will empty the remaining supplies in a little over a month. Apocalypse outside. The complaint is cold showers. So several survivors grow suspicious when someone suddenly asks a soldier about his civilian job. The newcomers don't know what comes next, so a soldier calms them down and orders everyone into one line. The civilians finally listen once the officer confirms he's in charge. He assigns soldiers to guide them. They cooperate immediately. They respect rank more than ordinary troops, so the soldiers move them into the compound's living quarters. Now the soldiers welcome the newcomers, and Dude serves them an exceptional meal. The grateful survivors begin trusting the unit, and morale improves as they settle in. They also mention jobs becoming more exclusive, showing how awakenings are already changing social order. Now resentment is building inside the unit. A soldier says the sergeants are more capable than the lieutenant. He calls a secret meeting about the leadership problem. At the meeting, a soldier questions why Shin always represents the group before presenting his proposal. The dissatisfied soldiers want to remove the lieutenant in secret. The guy is stunned they are willing to go that far. They insist Shin take command because they trust his leadership. The system recognizes their decision immediately. Shin remains a novice chef LV9, but he also becomes Clan 423's new clan leader, novice chef clan leader. He fed his way to command, and the soldiers keep discussing their failing comradeship in the barracks. One warns that morale and unity will collapse unless they resolve the leadership crisis. The others demand to know what they should do. The soldier points to a rule allowing ordinary soldiers to command when no officers are present. He argues that this gives their proposal legitimacy because the unit needs proper leadership now. The system confirms Bro as clan leader, and the new authority leaves him stunned. The soldiers explain that fighting monsters while protecting more survivors is overwhelming them. Their anger toward the lieutenant grows because he avoids battle, but admits 25 more civilians. And they gather again without the 6 soldiers or the lieutenant. This time they state the proposal plainly. Remove the lieutenant before his leadership leaves them helpless during another crisis. So the room goes quiet before the soldiers choose Shin as their leader. This guy argues that nobody will accept a cook as commander, but they call for objections as the system starts evaluating their decision. Some soldiers still hesitate because the lieutenant's high clearance protects his authority. They question whether replacing an officer is legitimate, even though ordinary soldiers can't be forced to obey an improper order. Then the group addresses those doubts by asking whether anyone truly disagrees. They declare that if an outside force attacks, nobody will oppose Shin taking command. They trust his proven leadership against outside attacks, regardless of rank or combat ability. The soldiers keep urging Shin to take command. The system gives the crisis leaders a second reward, a group skill token. They're exhausted and believe the lieutenant has left them to handle everything themselves. But the late meeting brings their disagreement into the open. After apologizing for the hour, everyone falls quiet until a soldier objects. They can't simply remove a lieutenant, so the others explain that Bro would command only against outside attacks. So the objection comes down to combat power. The soldiers would accept a strong fighter, but Shin can't fight directly. The others still back him because he's already led them against outside threats. The system accepts their decision. The system appoints our hero leader of Clan 423. Shin accepts the responsibility and asks every soldier to make him a promise. He wants to keep the worn-out group together. Outside, a blonde man questions whether Shin's newly organized group poses any real threat. The yellow top assumes Clan 423 has few awakened members, so he expects little danger or competition. Back inside, Shin receives his first clan leader equipment, a clan skill token. The soldiers affirm their trust by saying faith, while a civilian questions whether this new procedure is necessary. Then the residents receive some encouragement as soldiers explain that part of the building has been repurposed. Their discussion stops when one soldier confirms his identity to a superior, leaving everyone focused on the changes under Shin's command. Some soldiers call the recent decision hopeless and beg their leaders to reconsider. One soldier realizes the request is meant to test their leadership. Outside, another group dismisses the defenders as inexperienced people in their 20s and prepares to move. Inside, one soldier says the residents responded well. The unit still hides its awakenings to avoid causing panic. That secrecy carries its own risk because they fear Kim's reaction if he learns they acted without authorization. And Dude decides the kitchen needs organizing and carries a prepared meal into the basement. Two soldiers accept the tense arrangement, but the residents begin protesting. Shin calms everyone down and asks them to hear him out. Now the scouts decide they can exploit the compound's leadership problem. Their leader points out that the forceful captain is absent and demands the intelligence he requested. Inside, the residents wait for the children to return before starting the next day's meal. A soldier clashes with another armed man, but secrecy matters more right now. Visible changes could frighten the compound, so he tells an altered resident to hide his teeth until they understand what's happening. Then meanwhile, our boy searches beneath the kitchen because they need more food storage or supplies. Two soldiers watch him open the hidden entrance and wish him luck. Carrying a prepared meal toward the unknown door, Shin lays down one rule. In order to retain our humanity, they need clear limits moving forward. So Shin keeps searching below while the soldiers deal with everyone upstairs. One soldier checks their condition and argues that only a strong leader can keep the unit together. And the soldiers agree to awaken more people and use awakened marksmen against the monsters. Their focus returns to Bro when they confirm there's a hidden basement beneath the dining room. So Shin opens the basement door. Shin finds soldiers debating rules for the unit. They agree nobody should be killed unless they attack first. Clear limits are necessary to preserve their humanity, even with old loyalties pulling them apart. Meanwhile, armed soldiers gather at the barracks after hearing another group kills monsters with guns. A clan token confirms their leader's authority, and the group also has a berserker supporting that leadership. Before dealing with that group, a soldier orders everyone to select 3 representatives. The guy continues exploring the basement, which once supplied the dining room with hot water and electricity. And so Shin finds an isolated soldier inside and brings him food. The soldier reacts angrily while remembering an earlier incident with spilled coffee. Shin still supports him. The soldier eventually offers a sincere thanks, one hot meal. The grudge quietly surrenders. Meanwhile, a soldier admits he doesn't know what the lieutenant plans. Bro confirms the prepared mixture is enough for his next move, but he doesn't explain what he'll use it for. As Shin gets ready to use the mixture, another soldier objects. He insists this isn't the proper way to make a better dish, and their disagreement continues as the soldiers approach a closed room. Then an awakened soldier confronts another soldier over repeated negligence that has injured several men. He strikes him with an electrified fist. Shin's pasta has the opposite effect on the isolated soldier, restoring his appetite and flooding him with happiness. But this guy needs another awakened lizard to keep testing monster meat. He sends the soldiers hunting. One soldier accepts the assignment. The rest resent being sent after another dangerous specimen. The soldiers explain that awakening jobs are assigned at random. An awakened soldier warns them about the emptiness that follows intense happiness, which alarms everyone. They open the closed room and find another soldier incapacitated by prolonged electrocution. So elsewhere, the isolated soldier tells Shin he tried persuading the others. They outvoted him, they left him behind. Shin's meal cuts through his despair and he cries that he finally feels alive again. His joy becomes so intense that another soldier screams in alarm. Shin finishes the lizard rosé pasta. Shin fills it with happiness. The soldiers fall into strained silence as the dish's emotional effect grows dangerously intense. Then the soldiers rush toward a critically wounded monster. Before they can handle it, an electrical attack hits one soldier and leaves him screaming in agony. And the soldiers decide that the recovering man still has no hope. Dude keeps testing monster ingredients to improve his food's flavor and effects. His happiness-filled pasta gives the soldier powerful relief, proving his meals can restore morale along with strength. An officer protests because Shin has restricted his meal. Our hero refuses to budge and threatens to replace it with battle rations. The officer collapses. His rank gives him no leverage over Shin. Rank means nothing to the man who plans the menu. Inside the base, an awakened soldier attacks another soldier with electricity. The terrified victim calls out for Shin, but no one knows what happens immediately afterward. Now a soldier asks Bro whether humans can safely eat monster meat. Shin says he already tested it and confirmed the results, though the the dish's happiness effect remains dangerously intense. An officer demands a proper meal, but our boy still refuses him special treatment. At dawn, a starving soldier begs for help. No amount of food satisfies him. He fears losing control. Another soldier urgently asks Shin to explain the system lottery ticket that tests luck. Shin finishes making his battle rations, giving the unit another practical food option. Soldiers and civilians still watch each other carefully as their meeting begins. Then Sung-ah stays silent when an angry man confronts her inside the base. The soldiers give a new survivor a guarded welcome and remain suspicious. A bloodied soldier finally confirms the system lottery result was a win, and Bro tests his newly unlocked battle ration skill, then approves the finished ration. The compact food gives the unit another reliable supply. Near the base entrance, soldiers still keep a close watch on the newcomers. Even now, the chef signs off before anyone eats. The delayed meeting frustrates the survivors, and the yellow top says the missing representative should have come. Sanga listens as everyone else falls silent. Her group makes another claim, shocking the soldiers and making them demand an explanation. So Shin confirms the battle rations taste acceptable and can feed the troops efficiently. Back at the meeting, a soldier explains that Shin's cooking made the expected representative sick. Another soldier must speak for him, leaving the survivors confused. The soldiers want information without revealing what their unit can do. The yellow top demands to know why they waited 3 days. Sanga's group calms him and explains that monsters appeared about 2 weeks ago. Cities are overrun by infected. The survivors are exhausted from the violence. Kim's leadership becomes stronger as troop stats improve. By strengthening soldiers through food, Shin can improve command structure. And the soldiers admit their once useless lieutenant has changed dramatically. The meeting leader gathers everyone and introduces himself as the sergeant, running the discussion. He challenges the survivors for treating 3 days of military work as unimportant. Sanga apologizes for her companion's temper and says they meant no harm. Her group explains how survivors organized their escape after the outbreak. An unidentified soldier defeated a monster at close range and awakened, revealing how ordinary people gain powers. Shin confirms his awakening has pushed even novice cooking to his old master level standard. His support job is far more useful than he expected. After finishing the meal, he considers the difference before the dormitory meeting continues. But Sanga notices the lieutenant is missing, and the survivors grow wary of the soldiers. A soldier calms them enough for Sanga to explain. Monsters attacked people, and wounded survivors eventually turned into zombies. The soldiers explain they don't use the word zombies, though the survivors insist that's what attacked them. During the questions, an older survivor confirms who he is. The group also reveals that ordinary people can awaken superpowers. Sanga backs that claim with her own experience. An infected attacker corners her. She grabs a pair of scissors. Her awakening turns them into a lethal weapon. One stroke decapitates the infected. Then Sing-ah keeps calling the infected zombies. The survivors describe fleeing the outbreak and discovering this supposedly secret military unit that immediately alarms the soldiers, who demand to know how they found it. Then the soldiers tense up as the survivors describe awakening in more detail. Sanga explains that she grabbed a weapon during the crisis. She points to the damage it caused as proof of her power. Taejun doubts scissors could keep the whole group alive. The survivors explain they met by chance and stayed together. With nowhere safer to go, they searched for the military base. So turns out only one person among the 25 survivors awakened. Sanga stayed calm during a monster attack, grabbed her scissors, and gained the power to fight back. That ability kept the otherwise unarmed group alive during their journey. The soldiers still have trouble believing any of this. The survivors also explain that they call the infected walkers instead of zombies. Now the survivors explain they crossed a river and dangerous ground after hearing about a nearby military base. The journey sounds impossible until Sanga reveals how they managed it. Her awakened power lets her cut through attackers and carry the group forward. And the woman gives the soldiers the details. A walker corners her. She stabs it with scissors and survives. The soldiers are stunned, though both groups briefly argue over calling the infected zombies or walkers. The survivors also confirm that someone directed them toward the military base. The soldiers remain suspicious because all 25 cross dangerous ground without visible weapons. They demand a better explanation. Everyone goes quiet. Sanga answers by slashing downward and shattering a hard surface. A recording also captures how terrified she was when her power first appeared. Even with that proof, the soldiers question whether she's their only awakened survivor. And Dude pays the survivors for washing dishes and cleaning with 2 ice cream bars. One woman tastes the enhanced ice cream and immediately loves it. Another survivor takes the offered bar before it finishes melting. Wages in the new economy are 2 buffed ice cream bars. The soldiers start wondering whether the survivors' friends are hiding abilities too. One soldier suggests testing them. Another asks whether Shin can do more than provide food buffs. This guy realizes they're getting close to uncovering how his cooking works. A soldier explains to Sanga that killing a zombie only gives someone a random chance to awaken. With zombies and monsters overrunning the city, ordinary survivors can't depend on that chance. Shin's enhanced ice cream offers a rare advantage, so the newcomers soldiers quickly take interest. Then one survivor doubts whether the ice cream deserves that much praise. A soldier confirms that Shin's enhanced food works exactly as claimed. They decide it could help test the newcomers, then suggest placing one survivor in the dining hall to watch the group more closely. So Shin worries the soldiers have already uncovered his hidden chef ability. He keeps serving a quick snack while they investigate. Sanga also thanks the soldier for explaining that killing a zombie only offers a random chance to awaken. The responsibility sits heavily on Shin, but the enhanced ice cream leaves the civilians satisfied. One survivor even starts crying. That evening, the soldiers gather again and discuss protecting the secret behind the food's effects. So a soldier warns that revealing their abilities could cause serious trouble. He asks whether they should repeat what happened with Kwang-il and Kim. He agrees to stop investigating Shin's ability because they'll need it soon, but warns Bro not to depend on it too much. Shin offers another enhanced ice cream once the civilians finish washing dishes. A soldier thinks the newcomers are harmless, but one civilian seems to understand more than they admit. Another starts crying, which suggests the food's effects run deeper than expected. But the soldiers locate the room of a newcomer who keeps questioning their work. An unknown awakened person could endanger the entire refuge, so they authorize an investigation instead of waiting. And the soldiers approve the covert plan, and one tells our hero he understands the burden he's carrying. Elsewhere, a large newcomer recognizes the enhanced ice cream. A soldier welcomes Sang-ah, offers to explain the unit's circumstances, and arranges accommodations. Shin thanks two civilians for continuing to help, but they insist on repaying their meals through work. They taste his ice cream and praise its unfamiliar flavor. The food's real value comes from its effect on their mindset, which remains even after the skill ends. The investigators confirm that the suspicious newcomers knew each other before the outbreak. They'd already agreed that awakened people were threats, pointing to a coordinated conspiracy. With Shin's approval, the soldiers set a date for their operation. Then Shin continues serving enhanced ice cream as soldiers wait in the kitchen. He thanks one soldier for enjoying it, while another grows anxious as their planned operation approaches. That night, the conspirators begin their operation, and the Shroud attacks Bro with a huge burst of fire. Shin braces himself. Shin uses his kitchen equipment to cut through the flames instead of retreating. Our boy activates Lesser Cooking Secret, Realization of Primate Processing Technique, and counters by controlling the fire himself. A soldier joins the clash, while the enhanced ice cream keeps the others steady during the operation. Then Shin remembers the Shroud questioning his job. At the school that evening, the men behind the planned takeover react with alarm once the operation starts. Now the Shroud calls Shin just a cook and charges through the burning kitchen with fire. Dude braces to counter, while the soldier warns him about the impact and readies a blade to help. The soldier's earlier investigation finally pays off. Shin's enhanced ice cream supports their covert operation, and testimony identifies the man who kept complaining about the absent lieutenant as part of the takeover. The conspirators realize Shin only relaxed because he expected no awakened enemies nearby. So the Shroud uses that assumption and rushes the guy with fire. The sudden charge catches Shin off guard, but lower flame affinity helps him resist. Cooking requires control over fire. His support job directly counters the attack. Their clash sends a soldier flying, and the Shroud cries, "What is this?" Elsewhere, another conspirator worries because his missing ally still hasn't arrived. He doesn't know Shin's special ice cream is already helping expose their plan. And the Shroud collapses before Shin can finish questioning him. An earlier interrogation has already produced a confession. 5 conspirators plan to seize the unit, so a soldier immediately moves to defend the base. And the Shroud insists the takeover can continue if Bro dies. He attacks with fire, but Shin blocks it using his cooking equipment and sends it back. The Shroud burns as 2 soldiers join the counterattack, preventing the conspirators from removing this guy. The Yellow Top realizes his faction is losing control. Shin's enhanced ice cream is taking effect too, and a soldier praises its sweetness. That confirms Shin's food is supporting the operation against the conspirators. Shin asks why being awakened automatically makes someone fit to lead. The conspirators' testimony answers him. They targeted this unit because they believed no awakened fighters or similar threats could stop their takeover. So the Shroud drains himself maintaining the flame, but he still attacks Shin with a blade. Bro counters by controlling the fire through his cooking ability, while a soldier reveals a concealed power because secrecy no longer matters. Together, they overwhelm the Shroud and leave him screaming in agony. The survivor group relies on its strongest fighter and rushes to evacuate everyone. The Yellow Top has a violent history, so his attempt to control the unit puts them all in danger. The Yellow Top expects the unit to obey and dismisses the 4 people opposing him as harmless. Sang-ah confronts him directly and demands to know whether he's been hiding that he's awakened. Then the Yellow Top's fighters rush the 4 opponents, but fierce resistance stalls the takeover. Bystanders pull back as his nervous soldiers realize they've missed part of the opposition's plan. But civilians are herded into the compound yard, giving the Yellow Top an audience. He claims authority and tries to reassure them, while Sang-ah stays hostile because his leadership depends on force. More fighters close in from behind and surround a woman. She warns the others about the attack, but the fighters trust their numbers to settle it. So the fight breaks out. The claw-wielding woman blasts one attacker across the yard. The Yellow Top says their strongest obstacle will be easy to handle. The Shroud backs that claim with a fire attack. A civilian demands to know why everyone was dragged outside at night. The Yellow Top's reassuring act starts slipping, while nearby survivors hear soldiers are fighting and head over to investigate. Then Sanga attacks with her scissors, turning the struggle for control into an open fight. The Yellow Top admits she's strong and sends one fighter after her. The crowd recoils when another woman throws a knife at the surrounding attackers, and the Yellow Top's power alarms the claw-wielding woman. One follower pushes down his doubts and puts loyalty to the Yellow Top first, while Sanga stays ready for another attack. Sanga accuses the Yellow Top of wanting more than his old place. As the group's big brother, she says she's never trusted his careless followers, then attacks with her scissors. The crowd warns him. He orders an eager subordinate to stop her. An old man quietly watches as a stone-armored attacker charges a woman. Two more awakened men join in with enhanced powers, leaving her outnumbered and unsure she can win. Now a woman confronts the Yellow Top, and he admits he won't accept anyone else leading their small survivor group. Two soldiers report that the survivors started arguing without warning. Their attempt to intervene fails. The argument turns into open fighting. Meanwhile, the Yellow Top claims he understands Sanga's scissor ability. She still refuses to retreat against 4 opponents. Since her defiance threatens his takeover, he orders his subordinates to crush her. They attack. Now the awakened assault terrifies the survivors and pulls more people into the fight. Armed soldiers try to restore order, but another woman grabs a soldier's bayonet barehanded. The riflemen can't move without risking an attack. The Yellow Top mocks the soldiers for aiming rifles at civilians. They keep their weapons trained on him, but one soldier's rifle won't fire. An enemy ability has disabled it, leaving the unit unable to depend on its guns. And 2 infiltrators laugh at the soldiers' useless weapons, pushing the unit further. Their power bursts out, the confrontation turns violent. The Yellow Top throws himself into the clash under its effect. The Yellow Top loses his confidence when an unexplained attack tears through the standoff. One infiltrator stays smug, while another reacts with alarm. The soldiers threaten to fire, but a sudden slash drives them back first. One soldier keeps his rifle trained on the enemy despite the failed gunfire. The Yellow Top says they'll understand once they learn what his ability does. The soldiers refuse to back down and rally against him. A soldier prepares to strike, but the woman and the rock-armed man attack first. Their sudden assault forces another soldier to aim his rifle at them. So the soldiers surround the Yellow Top and order him to stop. He refuses to surrender and tells them they'll need to get serious. He adds, "I clearly warned you," and the standoff turns violent. And the Yellow Top finally has a name, Park Hwan-chang, an awakened arsonist LV5. His strength is 12, agility 8, magic power 10, and luck 4. His low-level fire interference disables the soldiers' guns, so he says their numbers mean nothing. A soldier punches the woman, and open fighting begins. The infiltrators stay confident because the green-haired man says they've already reached level 4. One soldier demands to know why the armed group turned on them, but the Yellow Top rejects the order to stop and continues fighting. The soldiers know awakened fighters are strong, but the Yellow Top doesn't back down. Their rifles fail again. They realize his skill is blocking every shot. Shin and the others lose their biggest advantage without firing a bullet. But the soldiers brace for close combat because their guns are useless. The hostile awakened activate their powers and charge. Numbers and weapons can no longer keep the soldiers in control. The two sides rush into close combat. One soldier gives the Yellow Top a final warning to stop, or he'll fire. The Yellow Top keeps advancing and dares him to shoot. The soldier pulls the trigger. Meanwhile, another soldier faces the masked infiltrator, who asks whether he'll really shoot. The bullet stops in mid-air, confirming the Yellow Top can block gunfire. The level 5 arsonist orders his group to kill several soldiers as an example. Then the clash leaves soldiers and hostile awakened blasted aside, with the Yellow Top stunned on the ground. The soldiers secure the unconscious fighters. Reinforcements arrive and demand to know what happened. Then the soldiers count the captives and realize the 5th infiltrator is missing. Our hero explains that he changed his final strike at the last second. He uses a non-lethal fish preparation technique. He knocks the target unconscious because he needs him alive. The soldiers admit their efficiency will slowly decrease, but they tell Shin they can manage without him. On the way back, they prepare to expose the survivors' lies, including one member claiming her profession is only seamstress. Shin leaves to handle another task alone. So Dude restrains the infiltrator and orders him to eat his cooking, intending to force his cooperation. The soldiers recognize how much stronger they've become after beating the hostile awakened. They gather the captives while reinforcements explain they rushed back from the suburbs after receiving the report. Shin returns to the compound at night carrying the captured infiltrator, putting the armed soldiers on alert. Everyone is shocked by the result. One soldier says they may be strong enough to work without our boy, but the group disagrees. They've improved, yet they still need his support. Now Shin handles the task alone, because his work as a chef makes it his specialty. His choice works. The hostile awakened are dragged down and subdued instead of escaping. And inside the compound, soldiers finish stopping fights among the survivors. They order 2 more captives brought in after several infiltrators cause trouble. Shin struggles back, carrying another heavy captive for questioning. The captive curses the setback while the soldiers discuss their average level. The opposing group realizes these soldiers have awakened as well. That explains how they found and subdued the hidden attackers. A soldier reports that nothing seems unusual usual inside the compound. The calm doesn't last. Another confrontation breaks out. The soldiers bring down another infiltrator, and a soldier mocks the infiltrator for dropping after one punch. He holds several hostile men at gunpoint and lists their offenses. Their resistance proves the unrest is coordinated, so Bro brings another captive for questioning. Shin considers the risk of using ingredient discernment on the target. It requires blocking his airway and draining his blood, but his bloodlust is too high. The soldiers mention the 5 to 6 earlier awakened. The soldiers ask whether the guy passed level 10. They find Senga unharmed and realize others hid the truth because it sounded impossible. A terrified captive begs for mercy and promises to cooperate fully. The soldiers realize the aggressor isn't awakened, but his behavior angers them. One soldier demands to know what gives him the right to act this way. Then the remaining infiltrators surrender, while the soldiers keep them at gunpoint. One soldier recognizes a captive from the earlier meeting. Shin helps complete the crackdown. The soldiers subdue another hostile fighter. They praise Shin for protecting the compound. So the victory grants the unit a clan skill token. A survivor thanks a soldier for protecting her group. Using their new information, the soldiers locate the youngest member in the hallway's final room. The captive submits completely after the crackdown leaves him terrified. He remembers the infiltrators planning to take over another force through deception. A soldier asks whether Bro has completed his part of the plan. So Shin uses the same cooking-based dependence he previously tested on Kim. He prepares a meal intended to make the captive compliant. The captive eats under pressure as soldiers return and ask about the newest members. The soldiers report that the unit is nearly out of oil. The generator has 1 week left. With normal supplies failing, this guy serves cooked skewers and reveals their lizard meat. Everyone has to accept what survival requires now. Elsewhere, the captive remains frightened under armed guard. But a soldier thanks Shin for keeping everyone fed. The captive remembers the infiltrators calling weaker survivors dead weight, though one member refuses to kill other humans. Shin makes him eat the specially prepared rice, bringing the interrogation into its decisive stage. And the rice takes effect. The captive remembers the older newcomers entering the military compound among the survivors. Their arrival means more mouths to feed while food and electricity are already running out. The soldiers are also still adjusting to eating lizard meat. Now the captive admits his comrades are criminals from near Gangwon-do. They enter the compound to steal military rifles and gain an advantage over other forces. When someone questions one member's suspicious behavior, he tries to pass it off as a joke. Dude confirms that his cooking has made the captive compliant. The captive keeps eating under guard while another infiltrator works in the kitchen. Before Shin can question him further, an alarmed soldier urgently calls him over to inspect something new. Then the captive explains why the criminals enter the compound. Supplies are already strained by the survivors, and the soldiers are uneasy about eating lizard meat. The criminals target this vulnerable community to expand their influence and seize more power. Back in the kitchen, our hero prepares another enhanced meal. The guarded captive forces it down. A relieved soldier carries the finished food away, while the kitchen keeps working. A tense soldier approaches while the kitchen is being cleaned. He tells Shin, "There's something you need to see." Shin asks whether there's a problem, and everyone turns toward the urgent discovery elsewhere in the compound. Then Bro confirms the captive concealed his awakening before joining Sang-a's survivor group. That proves the newcomers entered under false pretenses. A soldier also reports that the other survivors have been reassured as ordered, calming the immediate panic inside the compound. Now Shin tests his cooking on the captive, who nervously accepts the rice. The meal overwhelms several diners and triggers a system message for a perfect achievement. The soldiers respond with renewed intensity, proving Shin's support class can produce extraordinary results. Now our boy follows the discovery to bloodstained barrels sealed behind caution tape. By nightfall, the soldiers fall silent. Monster meat contains magic, which means Shin can cook it into unusually effective food. So nearby, a bloodied soldier lies collapsed, reminding everyone how desperate the compound has become. Shin responds by preparing a full monster meat feast instead of combat rations. The soldiers gather around, though one still hesitates. The meal restores enough confidence for the soldiers to raise a toast. Bro warns that they can't protect every civilian forever. A survivor agrees and urges everyone to learn how to fight before danger reaches them. And elsewhere, a hostile group appears connected to the red-eyed monsters coming closer. Back at the table, a soldier hesitates because those creatures may have eaten people. The unit must decide whether using their magically potent meat is worth it. And the soldiers finally taste Shin's monster-based meal and admit it's better than expected. Their fear fades, the table turns into a drinking celebration. Shin still makes one rule clear: civilians who won't fight aren't forced to eat it. Sanga argues that the survivors need to support themselves because soldiers can't guard them forever. She speaks for the group, though a soldier claims they cooperate because he ordered it. Everyone suddenly reacts when the discussion returns to eating lizards. The soldiers know many survivors will reject monster meat at first. This feast proves Shin's cooking can quickly change their minds once they taste it. Everyone here has agreed already. They expect the others to accept it eventually. So the soldiers tell everyone to enjoy the feast before the unit leaves. Sang-a accepts that monster meat is necessary. Her group has considered supporting itself since the hostile survivors betrayed them, so this choice isn't sudden. A soldier asks what their problems have to do with eating lizards. The guy gives them the plain choice: eat the monsters or or let the monsters eat them. The soldiers accept his reasoning and continue eating. With nobody resisting the food anymore, the soldiers celebrate before the unit's departure. They call for the hidden soju and beer, but one soldier notices something troubling nearby. The celebration stops. Then the concern is whether the non-combatant survivors must fight too. The soldiers admit everyone's help has already mattered against earlier attacks. Shin also hears complaints about safer cooking methods because they're difficult and consume points, leaving few choices. Even safe cooking, it seems, has a price in points. But Shin's cooking has also kept the soldiers mentally stable under severe stress. He believes the unit would have collapsed without it. The soldiers commit to eating monsters, and their response confirms the feast is a success. The feast gets louder once the alcohol arrives, while danger gathers elsewhere. The civilian finds the living quarters empty and follows the noise. Nearby, red-eyed monsters gather as a scarred man remarks that the survivors were lucky. So a survivor confirms that the others agree to fight beside the soldiers. Sanga supports them by turning thick steel lizard scales into defensive combat uniforms. She also makes non-green versions for possible operations in cities. The steel lizard uniforms stay flexible during combat and don't aggravate old injuries. As the soldiers prepare to leave, they appoint a young woman as the survivor representative. They order her to protect everyone staying behind, giving her squad leader responsibility. Then the unit gives its combat inexperienced officer a pistol, though a soldier admits the plan still has many risks. The novice tailor's chieftain-class steel lizard armor improves their defenses. The new representative is also told that learning the unit's secrets will fully bring her into their clan, and the soldiers celebrate how quickly Sang-ah and the survivors make enough uniforms for the unit. Sang-ah still worries about becoming the survivors' representative, but the soldiers assure her that she can handle it. A soldier explains that his sword has limits and reveals he's a production type awakened just as Sang-ah is. That gives the unit another support specialist. The soldiers can't predict what they'll face, but the new armor combines with their existing buffs to improve their combat potential. Sang-ah prepares to learn the clan's secrets despite her unease. The soldiers praise Sang-ah's uniforms because they make everyone feel safer. One soldier tells her that leadership becomes manageable with time. Their completed preparations finally give the gathered survivors a reason to celebrate. Now some soldiers warn Shin that his plan could strain people who are already struggling to survive. Dude gathers both able-bodied and wounded soldiers behind the mission. Sang-ah confirms that the new equipment fits properly and is ready to use. Before the unit leaves, a soldier asks Sang-ah to guard the clan's secrets and manage the survivors staying behind. She accepts his trust, though the responsibility leaves her flustered and wary of what comes next. The system suddenly announces, conditions fulfilled, 100 awakened individuals, 100. Everyone falls silent as the 100th awakening completes a hidden condition. Sang-ah's tailor skills and the lizard leather's strong defense still give the departing unit better protection against whatever comes next. Then Sang-ah finishes the final fitting. Her tailored armor feels comfortable. With the equipment ready, the settlement can redistribute its remaining burdens before the unit departs. A soldier warns her that more survivors may seek refuge here afterward. That means Sang-ah must protect both the current residents and any newcomers. Another soldier appears tied to the system event, suggesting the completed condition has granted him an unknown advantage.